used to, make us another one. And we said, okay. And we thought this time, let's go behind the scenes. Because what happens in the doctor's office is not separate from what's happened to everybody's life before they get to that office. And you cannot treat the whole person without some understanding of the experiences that happened outside of the office. So we made this film, the version, not a version of it, not the current version. And the state was like, oh, no, this is way too rough. This is way too difficult. And what I had done was invited 3 trans people of color to write the monologues that you will see. And then we hired these trans actors, also all people of color, to play the part. And it was just too powerful a film for the state. And it just sat there for a year until I said, could I have it back? I could make something of this. This deserves a real life. And they said, sure, we can't use it. And we added some stuff, changed it a slight bit. And then most recently, as of last September, we won an international award for the film. So I am hugely proud of it and the work that everybody has put into it. And today it is our gift to the world that it is just available anytime anybody wants to see it. So that's my story. And now, Dean, could you start by introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Ashok Mushtaq Dean. I go by Dean, and I am thrilled to be here. I'm a playwright by trade. I am occasionally a performer and some other things, but Pride is a very strange experience this year, and so I'm actually really glad to be sharing this space with all of you today.
Is it my turn? Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Torres. I'm an actor from New York City, and I play Diane/Dylan in the film.
Hey, everybody. I'm Brian Michael Smith. I'm an actor. I'm working on 911 Lone Star right now. I'm currently in Disclosure, which is on Netflix. You can check it out. It's about transgender representation on TV and film in the last 100 years. And I play Jack in this film.
Hi, everyone. I'm Puya Mohseni. I just forgot my own name. I don't remember the character's name that I play in what goes unsaid. But I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a script consultant, and a trans activist.
Thank you so much, all of you. What we're going to do now is we're going to screen the film so you can refresh your memories about these amazing roles that you've played that have touched people across the country. And if anyone watching on Zoom and on Facebook Live, you have any questions or responses to the film, feel free to put that in the chat. And the film's about 14 minutes. So sit down and please look at this amazing film that these amazing artists have created.
We're ready.
Magic of live television or Facebook Live.
No pressure.
None at all. You all look fabulous. You all have amazing hair.
Here we go.
Oh no, that's not the right film, huh?
Nope. Wrong film.
Wrong film.
This is very exciting.
Jeez.
They're all films that we're going to be watching today, so it's okay, Aria.
Do you want me to try to find it on my computer?
No, just give me 2 minutes.
So we have 2 minutes.
This is when they say talk amongst yourselves.
Cause no problems.
So you know what? Why don't we start with the question? What was it like for all of you to have viewed the film in preparation for today? All of you who worked on it.
It's a little hard. It's a little hard watching it. And also, you know, where we are in time right now. in regards to representation, in regards to legislation going forward in different parts of the country, undermining civil rights of the queer community and the kind of healthcare that they can get. You realize that this film is not something that happened a few years ago. Like, things like this happens now. Are we starting the film?
We are ready.
Yeah.
Patricia, Dr. Holmberg will see you now. Jack, Dr. Green is ready to see you now. Excuse me, Dr. Cole will see you now.
I'm Dr. Edward Goldberg, a gastroenterologist and primary care physician in New York City. What you're about to see contains some potentially disturbing material. There is occasional harsh language as well as graphic descriptions of both sexual abuse and consensual sexual activity. This is not intended to be shocking or offensive, but to offer you a glimpse of the lived experiences of many trans and gender nonconforming people, experiences that are rarely spoken about in a healthcare setting. Without some exposure to this, many well-intentioned providers unknowingly cause further harm to their patients.
Hi, Dr. Holmberg. Nice to meet you. I understand that Dr. Jacobs is your primary doctor. Yeah, I'm sorry that she's out sick today. She's our only specialist for transgender people like you. But I'll do my best to help. So, what brings you in today?
I have a weird itchy rash on my back and stomach. I thought it might have been an allergic reaction to something I ate, but it hasn't gone away. It's been a few days now.
Okay, well, I think I can help you. Your being transgender doesn't seem to be that relevant when we're talking about a rash. All skin's the same, right? So, have you ever had anything like this before? You know what? I tell you what. Let me just look at your chart for a minute.
The only allergy I know of is to pineapples, and that's pretty mild.
Well, looking over your chart, I see that you've been seeing Dr. Jacobs regularly for the past 2 years. That's great. Who'd you see before Dr. Jacobs?
Well, I didn't have health insurance for a period of time, and I didn't see a doctor. I had more important things to deal with in my life than annual physicals. When I decided to transition, I got fired from my job. Even though I was union, I got behind on rent and eventually got evicted. And I ended up living out of my car for a while. At first, I couldn't even find a homeless shelter that would take me. And even when I found one, I couldn't bathe. They didn't have individual showers. I was scared that the other women would freak out if I bathed with them because I didn't pass 100%. But I also couldn't bathe with men. And when I was begging for food in the city, I had to hold my pee until I found a single restroom that would let me in, which is next to impossible when you haven't bathed in weeks. So I ended up peeing in alleys, like a dog.
Have you added or changed any of your medications since you were here last?
No. I'm on the same dosage of meds and hormones I've been on for years.
Okay. You look really good for someone who is transgender. I happen to know that sex change surgery can be pretty expensive.
I had some financial help. What the fuck is wrong with this doctor? Does he really want to know the kind of help I got? Can he handle knowing that I saved up for my surgery by using the one part of my body that has caused me the greatest pain? That left me crying all the time? The part that I've wanted to get rid of ever since I was a kid? The thing is, it's the part men want, even though they would never admit it. When I lost my job, I had no choice but to satisfy those men for money, even though I always cried before and after. But I live in a state of fear that someone at work will find out about my history. I have a good job now. I'm a paralegal at a law firm. But if they ever find out that I once had to sell my body, I don't know what would happen.
Okay. So, when was your last period? You didn't mark it in the chart.
I've been on T for 10 years. I'm sorry. I've been on testosterone for 10 years now, and I've barely had a period the entire time, which is why the bleeding I'm having now concerns me.
Oh, I had a feeling, but I didn't know that for sure about transgender people. Thank you for telling me. How long have you been bleeding for now?
About a week.
Oh, I see. Well, if it's unusual for you to get a period, why didn't you come in sooner?
And I was kind of hoping it would go away on its own. I'm not really fond of gynecologists.
Yes, few women look forward to their appointments with me. Sorry, few patients look forward to the exam. Okay, let me take a look at you. Please lie back. Put your feet in the stirrups. Slide down more, please. More, please. I'm not gonna hurt you.
I know. I remember things, visceral things, kind of detached from what happened. More like a sensation that won't really go away. I was on this camping trip with some friends. It was kind of like a last trip before we go off to college sort of thing. And everybody went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. So I ended up hanging out with these guys from a couple campsites over, and they offered me a drink. And it's hard to explain. You see, this was before I transitioned, so, you know, I guess I looked like a girl. But to me, I was a guy. So I'm thinking they're hanging out with me because, you know, they want to shoot the shit like one of the guys. And the first guy's like, let's go check out the lake. So I go, and it's like down this path. And in the darkness, I stumbled, and he grabbed my hand. And in that second, I knew what was about to happen. And in that moment, I shut down. I couldn't move. It was like I was outside of myself looking down. When he took my pants off, he saw my tighty whities. I wore tighty whities back then. And he laughed. He didn't use a condom. It hurt. I thought for sure he'd give me AIDS. Afterwards, he gets off me, he says, why don't you get yourself some real underwear? Like a real woman.
When was your last GYN exam?
About 8 years ago.
Just try to relax, please. Now I'm going to put the speculum in your vagina.
That word, that V word, that is definitely not what my parts are called. I'm a man. I've got man parts. My parts are more unique than most, maybe, but I'm a man with a front hole, a bonus hole. Did you know there's an entire website devoted to trans guys who have sex with cis guys? I mean, whatever you feel about porn, it's pretty awesome to see people with my body being fully appreciated. I mean, it wasn't always like that. I used to feel, I don't know, small, kind of apologetic about my body, but now I have great sex.
Whether I'm a top or a bottom, whether with men or women or somebody who's a little bit of both, I do all those things with all those people. And it's fucking awesome.
Dad, I'd like to ask you some questions about your family. You live with your parents?
Uh-huh.
And do you have any sisters and brothers?
Yeah.
What are their names, ages, and where are you in the birth order?
Jay is 2 years older than I am, and Barbara's 4 years younger.
And how do you get along with your parents?
My parents don't really get me.
Yeah, I understand your parents don't really get girls who want to dress like you.
God, dear God, why can't my parents just love me? Why must I spend every night crying my eyes out because I'm not their little girl anymore? Diane is dead to me. I was always Dylan. And sometimes I wish Dylan was dead too. Oh, Mom. Stop asking me when I'm going to have a boyfriend for you to meet. Stop trying to force me into dresses just so I don't embarrass you. Dad, will you ever stop talking about how all queers go to hell? Do you see who I am? God, dear God, have you abandoned me too? You haven't responded to me in so long, and you're all I have left. Are you hiding within my parents? Are you hiding within my teachers? Why won't you answer me? Answer me!
I'd like to talk about school for a little bit. Your mother tells me that previous testing showed you to be quite bright, and yet your grades have fallen suddenly in the last few months. So what do you think accounts for the sudden change in your grades?
I don't know.
Well, how would you say things are going at school?
Fine. Ain't shit fine behind those school doors. I don't know what's worse, the stares of disgust or the never-ending questions. Your mother lets you leave your house like that? What are all those scars on your arms from? I'm sick of waking up Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. feeling nothing but hopelessness and paranoia. From when I first walk into school, I'm getting ready to snap. From first period to last, everyone is prepared to scar me, getting their chance to engrave freak on my forehead, along with weirdo, woman beater, and man lady all over my body. Why can't they make up their mind, says a freshman. Is that a boy or a bitch, says a senior. Who'd want to be friends with an it, says one teacher to another. I guess no one really grows up after all.
Well, that about wraps up our time today. Was there anything else I should know about you?
Is there anything else I should know about you?
Is there anything else I should know about you?
This film was created with input from both the medical and transgender communities. All monologues were written by transgender people of color and played by transgender actors. For more information, contact the National LGBT Cancer Network.
Wow. So my friends, I'm gonna be best friends with all of you now because that was amazing. Thank you so much for your work.
Sorry.
I know it's, oh, don't apologize. I have to tell you, every time we show this film, the way it connects with people in the room, to me, it's one of the most powerful tools I have as a trainer. And I will let you all know that we had some members of our community view this, and they were so happy to have a film that would talk about other people's experiences without having to use their own. And they were like, this makes me feel so safe. I love that this exists. And the feedback we get from our community has been amazing, as well. From healthcare providers have also told us how powerful it is to see this, and to also know that they've done things like this and didn't know how much harm they were causing. And so thank you. Like, it's an emotional film, and it needs to be, right? We need the world to see us as humans. And it's a little too late now, I think. They should have started a decade ago. But so thank you for this really powerful piece of work. So what do you think of the finished product? If you haven't viewed it recently, we added the disclaimer at the beginning. Liz explained some of the history of the film, and it was a little too heavy for some people to take, and so we put a disclaimer. And now it's, I mean, it won an international award. This is something you should be really proud of. What do you think? Congratulations. What do you think?
I mean, it is really powerful. Like, even all these years later, you know, just revisiting it. And like, you know, I spent a lot of time kind of working on my monologue and trying to connect with the story, even though I personally hadn't had the exact same experiences as Jack in terms of like sexual assault. I could understand that level of vulnerability that, you know, and that sense of violation that he experienced. And then, you know, how going to the doctor's office was like just triggering and bringing all of that back up, and not feeling like, you know, he could talk about that with the doctor. And even though she's presenting and being very friendly, you know, she's not recognizing how triggering all of this is, you know, for Jack. And, you know, I can imagine how many other people have had that experience, you know. So I'm really glad that there's something like this exists to sort of help people be mindful of that without them having to reveal themselves in that way if they're not ready to.
I also feel that there are these little things, I don't know what else to call them, but microaggressions. I just did a play, and one of the sentences in it was somebody talking to my character and saying, but you passed so well as a woman, I never would have guessed. And it's kind of like this essence of, you know, like when the doctor says to my character, you look so good, you know, being who you are. And I think most people don't see the parallel, that it's no different than telling an African American that, oh, you sound really smart, you don't sound black. Mm-hmm. It's that idea of, they don't realize that what they're telling you is you look better than what I would have thought someone like you would look like. Mm-hmm. And in essence, you know, telling you, or like when people tell me, oh, you know, you don't need to tell people that you're trans, people would never know, as though it's something that I should automatically be ashamed of, or it's somehow being a trans woman is less than being a cis woman. And people mean it as a compliment, but it's not a compliment. Mm-hmm. Because again, like, you know, everybody in this room, and hopefully our audience knows that in essence, what they're telling you is you look better than what you are. Mm-hmm. And that is part of what goes unsaid. Mm-hmm.
And just that expectation that they have, like, what image are you carrying in your mind when you hear the word transgender? What are you thinking? And why do you feel like that is the reality? Why, when reality presents itself to you, you retort with this thing that you have imagined that has this negative connotation. You know what I mean? Like, I really like that, you know, we call into question, or we like really confront people with these biases that they don't know if they're carrying around, so that even when they are thinking they're doing something good or something positive, it's like, you need to check that. You need to check what is your idea of us, when reality is staring you in the face.
The one piece of this that really gets me is Justin's piece. Oh, because Justin has a younger character, and, you know, as I'm getting older, and I'm sure a lot of people in the community feel that way, you kind of, you know, you've been through things, your skin has gotten a little thicker, you know, you just have a better sense of yourself. But younger members are kind of like, you know, more at risk, because they are still finding themselves, and they don't have the language, they don't have that resilience that gets cultivated. And when I saw Justin's piece, it just, you know, it just It just really breaks my heart.
I want to just add here that that monologue was written by a trans teenager, a high school kid, who somebody put me in touch with. And I think there's something about the writing that is perfectly of that time, that it's not somebody looking back and remembering what it's like to be picked on in high school. What's it like for you, Justin, to watch it now?
Honestly, I watched the full thing recently because it was just weird for me, just me being me, like watching myself. But watching it now, I just realized how much of an impact it has and how much of an impact it will have on the younger generation. And I just wanted to do justice to the part, you know, being a queer person of non-trans experience, I don't have those same experiences. I mean, but things like that also do hit close to home when you're feminine and you have feminine features and people still ask you, are you a boy or a girl? Things like that. Like, I don't have those issues in healthcare, but there's many people who do. And I wanted to be a voice for those people. So that was that.
Oh, Justin, I'll have to tell you, your sneer that you make is my entire teenage time of answering those questions of like, you don't know me and what you see is not what you're looking at. Like,
no,
yeah. So I felt it. Like, I feel Dylan every time I watch this. I'm like, I'm Dylan. Like, that's how
because there's so much more to you than what you see or what people think that they see. Mm-hmm. And they're quick to put you in this box of what they see or like this idea of what they have of you. And they kind of tell you what you are. And it's like, but wait, I'm not. I'm so much more than that.
Mm-hmm. Dean, tell me this. Why did you say yes when I asked you to write for this film?
Why did I say yes? I think it's because I wanted to give something back. I mean, I'm a writer and it's like the best probably talent I have to do something good in the world with. And I had done a lot of organizing before with Karen and others back in the day. And so in some ways, this was a way to like do something very tangible specifically for my community using some talent that I had. And you asked. You know.
And so what was it like seeing Brian do those monologues that you wrote?
It was hard because that is based off of an experience, not exactly, but it is based off of an experience that I've had. And so I've never actually listened to somebody else act words about that experience that I've had. And so it was hard. Okay, but hard. It was hard. And I do really believe that vulnerability is a very powerful tool for change. And I do think it's worth it as a writer when I go to hard places, and actors when they also honor those words by doing that. And then I think something happens in the audience. And so I hope that hard that I feel is just totally worth it, because out there it's making a difference.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for being that open and vulnerable with the elements of your story that you put into this, because it is those things that we tend to like bury under shame that free us, but then also free other people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who are carrying the same kinds of shames for like, you know, similar reasons, you know, so you being able to sort of lead with that, you know, I think is going to, you know, open the doors for other people to sort of speak up where they need to speak up and sort of take ownership of the direction that they want to go and kind of release themselves from the hold that those prior experiences have on them.
And I didn't want it to be all about shame, right? Like, we are not, even though that's the story, it's like so hard and shameful to be trans, but like we're also like really cool and interesting unicorns in the world that are and I think it's cool to celebrate that too. So I really wanted to give Brian that end of the monologue, which is I'm also kind of awesome, and you know, sex is actually kind of awesome. I know you have questions about that and I don't have to answer them, but like that, I wanted to give it a little bit of that too, because I think that sometimes gets forgotten.
That's definitely the part of the film we get chuckles on, the only part of the film. When you talk about pleasure and your body and knowing what you want.
Which I think is great, because again, a lot of the narratives about trans experience is rooted in our sort of pain. So I thought it was so beautiful and brilliant to show like what happens when we're released of that shame, when we let go of other people's biases and like, you know, just kind of live in like fully in our bodies. And, you know, it's like, so to see that, you know, Jack had this terrible experience early on, but has, you know, processed and worked his way, you know, out to the point where he's like living his best life sexually. I thought that was like great, because it gives the viewers some hope that, hey, it's going to be okay. And these things that might be problematic for you right now, like, are going to be your best assets at some point, you know, so enjoy them.
And that they shouldn't pin us down to being like, just because we're trans or straight or we're gay or we're anything, like you can't make those decisions either for lots of things. It's just fun.
So let's move into the healthcare part. What was it like to play a patient, and how did those experiences either match or differ from your own healthcare experiences? And that can include mental health care, obviously, too.
Who's gonna take this?
I'm gonna let somebody else go. I just said a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna keep the door open.
I honestly haven't had anything bad happen yet.
Good.
But that doesn't mean that it can't currently be happening to someone in the future or right now, which is why it's still so important to bring awareness.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm a little older, and I've had experiences like for a longer period of time, and I can see the changes that have been happening in healthcare as there's been more information that has moved from just the specialized, you know, like specialists who deal with trans healthcare, and there's just more of a proliferation of information throughout the general healthcare system. So I've kind of worked my way through that. I remember early on when I was trying to access care, I mean, there was so much gatekeeping, so many barriers. I've had experiences where in the wait room, you know, I'm like, I personally didn't like going to, you know, the what I call the lady parts doctor, you know, especially in that like vulnerable time where I was like working my way into the medical aspect of transition. I remember one time I'm sitting in the waiting room and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And the receptionist is just like, "Sir, is your wife going to join you? Are you, you know, waiting?" And I'm like, "No, I am not." You know, but it wasn't like a private thing. It was like, you know, she called out from the thing, and I have to like now go and explain, you know, it is an appointment for me. I had an experience where, you know, and that same experience. So the receptionist's like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." And then, you know, I told her that I was trans and like everything. She's like, "Oh, okay." And she relayed that back to the doctor. And then I go to go meet with the doctor. And instead of going to an exam room, the doctor takes me to, you know, her office, and she sits down and she's just like, "I don't think I can help you." And I'm like, "I don't understand." She's like, "Maybe you want to see a urologist first." And I'm like, "Well, why would I want to see?" So she had no idea that there were trans men, you know, that there was, you know, people who were transitioning from like female to male. So she was under the impression, you know, that I was male to female. And she's like, "Oh, well, you know, again, you look so good. I had no idea. And I didn't know what, you know." So I moved from that sort of space. This was, you know, this was actually almost 15 years ago, to where we are now, where I'm having less and less encounters like that, which is great. But yeah, it can get hairy, you know what I mean? So I'm really glad that there are videos like this, because even doctors who think that they're well informed are not. There's a lot to learn.
I think healthcare has been learning. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I've stuck with the Callan Lord Clinic, which is a famous LGBTQ oriented clinic in New York City. And I've been with them now as long as I've been in New York, so 20 something years, which I think the reason I do it is because I don't have to have this discussion with somebody that I don't know. But whenever I've had to go outside that, you know, like Chelsea Clinic for STD testing this years ago, 12, maybe 15 years ago. And the doctor and his nurse, they had no idea, like they're looking at my body and they have this idea of like, "Where should we test you?" And I'm like, I couldn't be the first post-op trans woman in your office, nor do my parts look like they came from another planet. But the fact that here are these two adults that I'm putting my body in hand, and they're looking at my body and looking at each other like, where am I supposed to take this swab from? And I never went back. Part of it was because I felt like it was an episode of The Twilight Zone. And I've come from, you know, the trans planet somewhere. I have been put on Earth, and here are these people looking at me like, ooh, have you ever seen this before? But I imagine that as there has just been more talk, as there have been more people like you and this film pushing forth, I would hope that something like that doesn't happen anymore. But I can't say that for a fact.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I also go to Calamar, which is very helpful for me, but I've navigated like a Northern Virginia healthcare system and then here. And because they're very traumatic, the GYN exams are really traumatic for me. I bring a friend and I have dragged friends to be like, I know we like are just getting to know each other, but like, actually I need you to come with me because you're a nurse or whatever. And so I always bring a friend, and it was the only time I've actually had a horrible experience was in Chelsea, of all places, which I think they should know better, where I had to get like an ultrasound and something that was invasive, and they said I couldn't bring my partner in with me. And we had to argue with them because I said, I'm not going to go in if I can't bring my partner. And then finally it went in, and it was like so traumatic that I had like a physical, like a somatic kind of flashback. It was just that. And it was just so strange though, because I was like, this is Chelsea. Like, you should know better. Like everyone, I'm not even in like the middle of nowhere. And actually in the middle of nowhere, I find people are a little like, they don't know what to do. So they're like overly apologetic. Whereas this person was like, just not nice, you know? So I don't know, I sometimes like need the advocate just because it's too hard to advocate for myself when I'm vulnerable.
Do we have any questions from people who are either on Zoom or on Facebook Live? Michelle or Aria, do you see any that you want to pass on?
I've been looking. We have not so many questions, but people are actually sharing some really sad experiences or traumatic experiences that they've had, or they're saying that this is happening to me now. And thank you for this film. And they're just sort of responding. I think many of them are seeing this video for the first time, so they're sitting with how vulnerable it feels to watch people have those inner thoughts. We have some of our network members who are departments of health and LGBT orgs who are saying this is amazing and saying thank you to you all for making this film. Someone says, I saw Disclosure on Netflix, it's so good.
I have a question from Gustavo Torres. My question for one or all of you is, if you were to give advice to our current generation of young people who are leaning into their power, what tips for self-advocacy in addressing behavioral and healthcare services can you provide, and how best to overcome or navigate healthcare experience without internalizing the experience?
I'll take this first and then I'll throw it. This is what I tell all of my kids. I put a message for Pride yesterday, and it includes how we deal with healthcare. Know that you don't have to apologize for being you. I mean, that is the most important. When you walk into a room, you have as much right to be there in your full glory as does anybody else. And if you want to educate the person, which I always advocate, because, you know, either you can advocate for yourself and educate people the way that they need to be, or somebody who has considerably less information than you is going to educate them. So I always want to say that part of it is our job to educate, but the other part of it is also being aware that we don't have to hide because we've done nothing wrong. We pay for our healthcare, you know, it's like we are entitled to being treated with respect. And also the magic of Google and Facebook. you know, your community. They probably have had similar experiences, either good ones or bad ones, so they can probably tell you who are the good providers to go to, who are the ones to stay away from for different procedures and different levels of care that you may need in different parts of the country. So I would say, first, know that you have the right. Second, know that your community is probably your best resource into guiding you and pointing you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just second that. You know, there's this attitude sometimes in healthcare, you know, where it's like you're lucky to be in this room. And, you know, sometimes it takes a lot to just to get you the appointment, but it is your appointment. You know, you are there for you, and the doctor's there to help you. It's not the other way around. And sometimes we can kind of get lost in there with the power dynamics. They have you waiting for so long to see somebody, and they come and they want to like rush through, but that's your time. And so you take it and you get all the questions that you needed answered, and you don't let them rush over you or like disregard your concern. You know what I mean? I think Dean's idea of having an advocate with you if you're feeling vulnerable is like another way to sort of empower yourself. So, you know, doing some research about what you're dealing with online before you go in there, so you kind of a little bit knowledgeable and you can ask questions, you know, very specific questions, or, you know, and be very descriptive with your symptoms, because sometimes they'll ask you a question and it's like it's hard to get the words there in the moment, in the spot. So if you kind of have some information already to go in and have some specific questions that you know you want to ask before you go in, it'll really help you out when you're in there and they're trying to like rush you around. But just remembering in the back of your mind, this is my appointment and I took time out of my day to come here. So you're gonna give me my time.
I mean, I think that's an issue with like healthcare in general, is that, and health insurance companies, the way it's structured in our country is we're not often given enough time. And I'm guessing the doctors also feel that they don't have enough time with us to do the work that the personal work that they want to do. And so that's systemic. I honestly don't know how to change that or how to make it better. But I think that's where you can really build rapport and trust and time by taking the time to get to know each other. Besides the advocate, one thing I do is sort of like call ahead if I'm with a strange doctor and say, have you had this? Do you need to contact Helen Lord and get like a training binder so you know some stuff before I come in? Do I need to call somebody else? Like, I don't want to spend that time explaining things. So what can you do to catch up? And if not, should I find somebody else? Just to, because once I get there, that's when I'm going to feel the most vulnerable, is in that office.
We have a question from Jill, and they say, Dean has used the word vulnerability 2 times now. I'm sure you've said it a couple more since then. Do you feel an organization's culture can change by being vulnerable? And then they follow up with, if you had low or no budget and had time constraints, but could only choose one thing that could really make a change, would you shift to supporting more vulnerability in the workplace? And then they sort of shout out to patient-centered care. So I think they're.
I'm not sure how to answer that personally, only because like, I think to echo what Brian said, I'm not sure if it's a place for mutual vulnerability. Like, I don't need to know that all my doctor's nervousness is about talking to me, like, and then have to take care of them. Like, that's not my job in that moment. But if there is a way to allow space for and time for a little bit of real connection, which I think might involve a little bit of vulnerability, then I think that's great. But honestly, I wish our healthcare system looked different than it does.
And maybe the vulnerability has to be aligned with the safety with that provider or in that place.
Mm-hmm. I do think if a provider said to me, look, I really want to do the best by you. There's things I don't know and I'm sorry. And please correct me if I get any, like if they were like clear with what they don't know instead of charging in as it, you know, that would probably be good, right? They acknowledge their limits and we can find some way forward together would be better than someone who makes comments like they did to Patricia's character in your film, you know, like maybe that's a kind of vulnerability. Or I need to go do some homework. I am not prepared in the way I should be as your doctor, so let me go do some homework and come back and talk to you from a more educated place. And thank you for having some patience with me while I do that. maybe something like that.
Yeah, I feel it's also part of what Brian said, this idea of educating yourself, because we can't get around the fact that we are still a novelty in healthcare, the way that it is being addressed in this film, in this day. Yes, there are some doctors who do have a lot of experience, and then there are doctors who do not. So part of it is educating yourself as a queer patient who knows that you may encounter someone who either doesn't have the right knowledge or the right bedside manner to deal with someone who's outside of their, norm patient circle. But I would go back to the fact that I have learned as a trans person, I have learned so much from other people in my community regarding, what are things that you can ask, who are the people who are open and caring. And also when you walk in, again, like Brian said, if somebody is giving you the runaround and is not addressing your needs, if you have educated yourself a little more, you would have a better handle of if they are giving you accurate assistance, or if they're giving you runaround, or if they're just trying to cover up their lack of knowledge. And I'm not saying that every doctor out there is trying to do that, but there are those people, depending on where you go, like Dean has had the experience, I've had the experience of going Chelsea Clinic. It's in the middle of Manhattan. You would imagine that they would know considering where they are, but they don't. And when you walk in knowing a little more, you are less at their mercy, and you will act accordingly.
I think it's also important to remember that we're not monolithic. Like, trans people aren't one thing. Like, what makes me nervous and what might make Brian or Pooya or Justin feel uncomfortable might be different. It might be different for me on a different day, just like any other patient. Like, we all have our own stories that we're coming in with, or hurts, or whatever. You know.
We have a comment from Mitchell, and then a question, which I think is this, we won't have enough time to answer that. But the question was, the statement was that they were shocked that no one was dead named in the waiting room, and that so many trans and non-binary people never even make it to the office because of just that. And their question was, how can we better break down those gates because of that gatekeeping?
Education. And I do mean education like at school, but the same way that doctors and healthcare providers, they go through rigorous training in how to deal with patients in different circumstances. This is also a thing, and it needs to be addressed because it can be very traumatic for a trans person. I'm in touch with a young trans woman who is still in the process of changing her ID, especially during the pandemic. She has not been able to change her ID at the DMV, but she had socially transitioned. However, the name on the insurance is still her old name, and all the documentation that she gets, there is the old name. And we keep talking about the fact that just seeing that name there can be traumatic. And as much as I try to tell them, just know that your identity and who you are is so much more than that. But I also would be very cruel not to take in the fact that when you are just transitioning, when you're in earlier stages of transitioning, or just finding your path, and there's this external force that keeps reminding you of something that you're trying to walk away from, it can have, at the very least, it can have short-term trauma, if not long-term repercussions. And when you go to be cared for, you usually go in a vulnerable state. And in that state, somebody that is supposed to care for you keeps bombarding you with this information that is not true, And you have to keep educating them. Well, not every trans and non-binary person is going to have the result or the emotional stamina at that moment to want to educate themselves while they need to be cared for. So I feel that this is something that should be addressed nationally as one of the many training segments that a doctor or a healthcare provider has to go through into how to deal with a trans or gender non-conforming patient in a way that it would be beneficial to them and would put them at ease so they can have a healthy relationship with their healthcare provider.
And that's partly why we made this film and we do the trainings that we do around the country, because it should not be patients who have to train their providers. Patients are sick and afraid, and that's not a time for that. That's why we do it as part of our work. I had a client a trans woman who ended up in the emergency room with severe abdominal pain. And the doctor said, I think it might be an ectopic pregnancy. And she said, no, it's not. And he's like, no, I really think it is. And she said, I'm a trans woman. It can't be. And he said, you're going to have to explain that to me. And she said, could I not explain it now? Could we just deal with the pain that I'm in? And we can talk about that after. And it is not the patient's job to train the provider, not ever. Which doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but it should not be the responsibility of a vulnerable patient.
Liz, so I'm just going to ask you all, if there was one thing you can say to healthcare providers, because we have quite a few healthcare providers listening via Zoom, if there was one thing you could say, what would it be?
Stay being a lifetime learner. Like, please don't allow yourself to fall into the false insecurity that you know everything you need to know. There's always more to know. So keep engaging in these trainings, keep engaging with trans people online in communities like Show Up. There's plenty of places where trans people are looking for information, people who don't have access to healthcare. I mean, what, if anything, this pandemic has taught us is like, we can come together online and we can reach so many more people online. So if you are a healthcare provider and you have experience with trans patients, please reach out to your other healthcare providers and share what you know, or join initiatives. Bring in trans people who are educators and trainers. There's a lot of people whose like job is dedicated as like a professional trans person to educate people. So just stay actively engaging with the community and learning, because there's always more to learn.
And there are nuances to that learning. Language being one of the most important parts of it. Pronouns. And I don't remember who said it, but this idea that, you know, it's not a one size fits all. No two cis women identify the same way or have the same exact problem. Trans people in all our color, in all our variations, we're the same. No two trans women have the same experience. I mean, that is a fact in how our bodies react to hormones. Non-binary people, gender non-conforming people, trans men. I mean, I consider myself an activist and an advocate, but I know that I'm always learning about things that weren't available when I was younger. So I, as an educator, and a trans person, I keep myself open because I don't want to be a trans person who has their ideas from 30 years ago. And I ask you to do the same, because, you know, you are there to care for us and we want you to be able to do your job the best possible, but we also need you to see us as we are, not your idea of us.
Justin? I don't know what Justin is.
Oh, hi. I would just honestly just say, never stop learning. You don't know who's going to come through your door or what they're going to identify as. So why not be knowledgeable for the next person? And yeah, just never stop learning. I never stop learning.
I think those are great. I'm not sure I can say it better. I guess the only thing I would add is I don't think of myself as a scared person walking around in the world, but if I have to go to the ER, I'm going to be scared probably because I'm hurt, but I'm going to be scared because now I'm not with the doctor I know and I'm in unfamiliar territory. And so if you're one of these doctors who's seen this and you're around, like, and you know your colleagues maybe are not up to speed, like, be a friendly face or come in and say hello or call your colleague out if you know they're doing something that is going to make my experience more frightening. And I will be so grateful for unknown friends out in the world because I will need them.
Oh, Dean, thank you so much. Two things. We have a question from Yali that says, and I think, Dean, this is for you. If you are accompanying a trans friend or partner to one of these appointments, what are the best ways to be supportive and make sure they feel as comfortable as possible? So I don't know if you have a training or a couple
I mean, I think it's
sentences
about
tell
you.
your friends.
I sometimes like when I like it if I get to take the lead, but if I start to shut down, somebody takes over for me and would just advocate. Maybe that's a little conversation we had beforehand in case I'm being talked to in a way that is uncomfortable. And sometimes I want someone to hold my hand. I just like the physicality of certain exams are just too hard for me, and sometimes I just need someone to hold my hand. And honestly, like, knowing a doctor seeing that you have an advocate in there already tells them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two people in that room now, and I always feel safer. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. And we have an anonymous attendee that said, "You are all amazing and your performances were so powerful. I wanted to thank you for sharing all you have today. As a non-binary person in the world, I feel more empowered to stop avoiding healthcare when I need it. I don't have the words to thank you all for this."
Wow.
And I tell you, we keep getting responses like this every time we screen it. Someone comes up at the end of a training or something, and they'll just be like, "I have to tell you, I've been avoiding the doctor," and just listening to these people talk about why they're there and how they have to be there. I'm like, I want to advocate for myself because I know I'm not alone. And so, I think your voices have been very powerful. And there were healthcare providers who were just saying, "Thank you for this powerful film." Liz and I were talking about like what questions we would ask you. We were like, "What are you working on now? And have you worked on any other queer film projects?" I don't know if you wanted to share that, because this one you were like really vulnerable and like being trans characters in a vulnerable position.
Brian.
Well, I had this is great. This came at a time in my life where I was looking to explore my trans experience in art. I felt like, I was training to be an actor, and I was very focused on like just being the best kind of actor I could be, and kind of taking on any parts that came, and what I wanted to create. And then I thought like, okay, well, what can I bring to the world? What can I bring to the work that is unique? And I'm like, well, I haven't seen the kinds of trans masculine representation that I wish I had when I was younger. So I was open to looking for that. And this is one of the first opportunities that I had to do it. And it, pushed me to be super vulnerable, not just, as playing a trans character, but playing a trans character who had been through, sexual assault trauma and things like that, and putting themselves in a very vulnerable space and visiting a doctor. And that's something that I, felt vulnerable about. So I was able to sort of make a personal connection to it, and then like a more global connection to people who had experienced similar things. And since then, I've been able to play more trans masculine characters on larger scales and to reach wider audiences. Right now I'm playing a trans firefighter on a show that airs on broadcast network television. So it's going into the homes of the middle of America, where other shows, like I worked on the L Word and played a trans character, but that's like a subscription-based show. So I'm really excited about the opportunities to help more people who may not know that they know trans people get to know a trans person through the characters. And for people who are in the middle of the country or just in places where they don't have access to LGBTQ community centers and things like that in real life, they can see that kind of representation, on screen and feel like they're not alone in the world,
Brian and I have known each other now, I think about, what is it, Brian, about 7 years?
I think so. 7, 8.
About that time. And I came out publicly actually tomorrow is going to be the 5th year anniversary of me coming out, because I was living as a stealth trans woman for about a decade and some. And one of the reasons I came out was I really thought it was going to be the end of my career. And I was fine with that, because I just thought, you know, these younger members of our community, they need to see that there are other people who are willing to stand up and say, here I am, and risk whatever it is that they're going to risk. And one of the things that, you know, Brian and I had talked about, this idea that when you come out, then you kind of get pigeonholed in some shape or form. But Brian has done wonderful things with it. And my journey has been a little different, because I got to be in a series on USA about 4 years ago that they wanted a trans character, but they were never going to talk about the fact that this was a trans character. And that was the statement they were making. They were basically saying, we want a trans character, not because there's a trans storyline, but just because we want to have a trans character in, you know, our family of actors. But probably one of the biggest things that has happened for me was that last year I got to play, I got to guest star on Law and Order SVU, and I got to play a judge. There was no trans storyline, but I was the first, you know, Middle Eastern trans person to ever play a judge on a network television show, on a broadcast show. And I felt that, you know, while this may not be a huge role, this is a huge step, because usually trans characters in shows like that, they are hired for specifically trans storylines that usually puts them in a victim role. And this idea that a Middle Eastern trans woman can be on a show that, like Brian said, you know, it's like middle America watches. It's been going on for 20 something years. It's not a particularly edgy show because it has storylines that, you know, it's like everybody can identify with, and it's not a queer show by any means, but that someone like me gets to play a character in power and have nothing to do with my gender identity. I feel that that is when I talk about progress happens in small steps. So, you know, if I'm the first, then God willing, that means there's going to be a second and third and fourth, and how many ever people come after that. But it also shows writers and showrunners and directors and producers that you can bring in trans talent, you can have them tell trans stories or not, but that these storylines and these characters can be more nuanced. They don't have to be villains. They don't have to be victims. They can just be people that exist in your life, your neighbor, your lover, your family member, your coworker. And I feel as you change that storylines, that will also slowly change the minds of all of those tens of millions of viewers that are very loyal to these shows. Sorry, I rambled.
No, that's right.
That's just passion. You don't have to apologize. It's not rambling. It's all passion. Like, we're asking you to dig deep and be vulnerable, and we're using this as a training tool. And now we're asking you, now that you've made yourself vulnerable, share more of yourself with us, right? But that's what actors do, right? You're all artists. That's where it comes from. I have to just, you know, again, thank Heritage of Pride for making this possible and for supporting this event. We had planned this event to be a way to highlight the voices of trans people of color, especially given the state of the world, just 2020. Let's just focus here. That's, and so we were able to invite members of our community to share how they show their pride in health, in taking care of their health, or to share an experience that they've had with a healthcare provider. And HOP allowed us to offer gift cards to these people for sharing their stories. And we just said, give us your story and you can get a gift card. There are no barriers. Whatever you need to say it. If you want to tell us a good story, a bad story, just go right ahead. And, you know, the Speak Out is is what you've done. You've done this amazing job of speaking up for trans people everywhere and sharing those insightful bits that we don't want to get hurt when we talk to our healthcare providers, to be honest, you know. And I just wanted to say thank you for your vulnerability. If you wanted to tell us how you show your pride in your healthcare and taking care of your health, I would really love that. We can start with you all and then sort of segue to our amazing audience participation. And we have people on Facebook who are going to tell us how they take care of themselves, show pride in their healthcare. We have members on Zoom who also are going to share that. And then we're going to air some of the videos that were submitted to us.
So you want us to share how we show pride in our healthcare?
Yes, because Puya was going to volunteer you to go first.
Yeah,
I saw the look.
I see the lean in. How do I show pride? But I take care of myself. You know, I kind of have like a mantra. I meditate during the day, and you know, I wake up in the morning. I give myself affirmations about telling myself I'm strong, I'm powerful, and I'm going to do the best that I can to take care of this gift that I have. You know, it took me a long time to get to a place of acceptance of myself. And now that I have that, I want to celebrate. So I celebrate by taking care of myself and being healthy. And then, going ahead and make sure I get my checkups and advocating where I feel like I need to advocate.
I would piggyback on that. Self-care, I mean, aside from being an actor, an activist, I've been a massage therapist for 14 years. One of the loveliest parts of my practice is that I dedicate part of my practice specifically to queer and gender non-conforming individuals, because I realize the same as healthcare, how vulnerable people feel when they go to get a massage, being judged, feeling safe, feeling that they can talk about what is actually bothering them without somebody else assuming that it's something else that is bothering them. And that has been a huge gift in my life, that I get to be a positive force in their life. In my own life, the basic things that the world affords us, what you put into your body, the food that you eat, the exercise that you can do on your own without having to belong to a gym, whether it's squats or walking or running, those things that you can do on your own, affirmations, investing in yourself, because that's something that doesn't need money and is available to everybody. Investing in your own physical and mental health, being your best friend, being your own best ally, believing that you have a right to be in this world and be respected, be affirmed, be seen. And when you can't do those things for yourself, having a circle around you of people who bring positivity into your life and have your back and support you when you need it. Come on, Dean.
Okay, I was waiting for Justin, but all right.
I get nervous. That's.
I think for me, I'm in my mid 40s now, and so I've thrown out my back and things are going, and my mind has holes in it now where things fall through, and so I think it's very important to prioritize things like the meditation and exercise and eating well, because this body has frustrated me at times, but it has also carried me very far on this journey through a lot of hard things, and I'm going to take care of it, and then everything else I think can come after that. But first, I've just really got to take care of like body, mind, and spirit first, or I'm not really going to be good to anyone else. So that's the best thing I can do.
I would say music for me is for my mind, body, and soul. I think self-care is a big thing. I think being mentally stable is also a big part of it. Being kind to yourself. And also I think just staying safe, So yeah.
Thank you all so much for being here and for participating in this. I will tell you, this video is going to go very far and do a lot of great work. Liz, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, thank you. That's what I want to add. Thanks to all of you for all your work on this and everything that you continue to do.
Well, Liz, thanks for making it. And like Liz and Karen, thank you for pushing it out into the world and like helping people in really concrete ways, both the medical community and the trans and queer community with this work. It's very satisfying as an artist to feel like you've done good, but you guys are really doing the legwork of getting that good out into the world. So thank you.
For that, Liz, thank you so much for all that you've done with the LGBT Cancer Network, you know, and I know you're turning off over into really good hands, but you know, thank you so much for this project.
Thanks.
Liz, you know how grateful I am for everything that you do for our community and all the amazing things you're going to continue to do. So I am filled with gratitude for being in this project, for you always advocating for it. Karen, thank you for, I mean, for everyone who made this today possible. This is really one of the best parts of being an actor, that I get to be involved with something that satisfies not just my artistic side, but also my soul and me as a person. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you as well, Liz, because this was actually my first booking as an actor. So like this job was the job that gave me that validation that like, hey, I can book something, I can spread a message, I can be queer and work, you know? So, and I just remember like getting the audition and everything. And I still remember being on set and you coming to speak to me and trying to get to know me. So I'm very grateful for that.
You're a really good actor.
Thank you.
I'm proud to be one of the first people who recognized it. Thanks. Okay, Karen.
So if you all stay on, you can see some of the Speak Out videos that were submitted over the last couple of weeks, or you can also watch us on Facebook Live if you need to get off Zoom because everybody's zoomed out. So Aria, if we can start our first video.
All right, let's try this.
Hi everybody, my name is Cristal Valentino. You can call me Cookie. I am a woman, phenomenally, she, her, and hers. Taking pride in my health is very important to me because, you know, if I don't advocate for myself, who's going to advocate for me, especially being a trans woman of color? In today's society, it's very hard being a trans woman of color with a lot of biasness, racism towards you, I guess. So me taking pride in my health for me has been very important because without my word or me standing on me wanting to have better health care for myself, if I don't do it, there's nobody else who will do it for me. You know what I'm saying? So I advise any woman's or anyone of trans experience to always advocate and, you know, stand for yourself, stand up for your rights, advocate for yourself. And, you know, we'll all be as one. Thank you.
Bodies, or if you have
Did we get frozen?
I'm not sure. Because we should be moving on to another video now. We have about 5 of them, maybe a little more.
2 seconds. Sorry, transitioning is being a little funky.
So, Kui, I've been watching all of your videos, just so you know.
Hi, my name is Yoon, and I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a trans man. What I would like to say to health providers in order to get better treatment for me and my community is to remember the position that you are in and the position that we are in. You are the doctor. You have the education and position of authority. You should have the knowledge of what questions to ask us and what answers you need in order to properly treat us. If there is a gap in your understanding of trans bodies, or if you have discomfort in challenging yourself and sometimes making mistakes and learning new ways of thinking, that is your burden of responsibility as a medical professional. As a trans person of color, I have been routinely silenced and dismissed within my own healthcare. I've been forced to weather illnesses alone because I was not believed or doctors did not give me the proper questioning and treatment that I needed. That creates trauma, and trans people of color should not be expected to overcome that massive trauma just to be the sole advocates for their health and bodies. That is your job. Thanks.
Yeah. When I see stuff like that, it fills me with pride and fire. By the way, thank you, Karen, for watching all my videos. All of them.
All of them.
My name is Aiden Johnson Rodriguez, pronouns he, him, and I identify as a trans male Afro-Latinx. I'd like to talk to you quickly about a subject we've desperately been needing to address, navigating our healthcare systems. So peep this. Imagine not being able to fit into a box simply based upon what you look like, or a gender marker on all your records that does not represent who you are in the present. Now imagine how all of that could affect how a doctor or a nurse looks or even treats you without knowing you. Longer wait times, being misgendered at all times, even being mistreated and given no other options because, well, you don't match the box that someone else checks off for you. Healthcare systems link many of us to our livelihoods and our future journeys, and it shouldn't be or feel like that. Our lives aren't games. We go through real life things, real life traumas, real life experiences that no one else really has to.
Hi, I'm Sasha Washington. I am a Black woman of trans experience. I am also a community member and leader of the LGBTQI, gender nonconforming community. As me living in New York City and receiving healthcare providers and healthcare service has been a struggle. But I feel that there's so much more improvement and opportunities of change to serve all the right way. Also, I feel that we need to embrace and to expand more service under the mental health department when it comes to our healthcare service and healthcare providers. Thank you so much for your time and to hear my voice. I believe our voice matters and it's powerful. Thank you. Again, I am Sasha Washington.
Whew.
Hey, my name is World Parker. I go by he, him, his, and niggas pronouns. I'm a Black veteran of the United States Army who served under the Donald Trump administration and was denied medical assistance by my commanders and my commander-in-chief. Healthcare is very important for all of us. I advocate for healthcare for all. I'm a survivor of substance abuse. I have 114 days clean and in recovery. Take pride in my healthcare. Healthcare providers can take better care of TGNCNB people of color.
Hi, my name is Sebastian Flowers. I am 32 years old and I am a female to male transgender person in New York City. I am of Belizean and Honduran descent. I am Afro-Latino / Black. And yeah, it's been such a journey with me transitioning. I obtained a hysterectomy in California 2 years ago. And since then I've had numerous complications, including me having to learn how to walk again and learning how to regain sensitivity in a lot of different areas. I manage chronic pain nearly every day. So I'm really grateful for Northwell Health and the Friedman Transgender Program for helping me to find resources such as physical therapy and things like that, and take tests and do all these things that a lot of people at a lot of different institutions probably wouldn't even really care because of my transgender status. So yeah, I'm very blessed, but it's definitely still a work in progress. All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Miss Mojo. My pronouns are she and her. I identify as a Black trans woman. My experience with healthcare providers has been a very troublesome one. When healthcare providers see my gender marker as F for female, and then they realize that I am a female of trans experience, I feel the coldness that comes with that realization. I feel the otherness, and I feel the lack of urgency when it comes to my care. As a Black trans woman navigating the healthcare space, I felt that I've often had to navigate systematic racism as well as just basic human care. And these experiences I never forget, they never leave me, and they make me very cautious and wary of working with or being a patient of healthcare providers that I really just don't know. So my access to spaces that are safe are very limited and are very few and in between. Things like this really impact how I navigate my health, my well-being, and it plays on the back of my mind each time I wake up and step out and decide to live another day.
Hi, I'm Tabitha Gonzalez, pronouns she, her, and hers, and I identify as a Black woman of trans experience. Most trans people of color do not seek medical assistance or medical help due to discrimination based on gender. You know, no one likes to go to be misgendered and treated unfairly because of their gender. So a lot of us are discouraged. Today, I received adequate care from Dr. Robert Beal, but that is not always the case with trans people of color. Here's how you can help us out. Make sure that your place is inclusive, down to your paperwork, so therefore we have the right to self-identify. Respect our pronouns. I repeat, respect our pronouns. Make sure that your staff is adequately trained and your doctors are competent enough to know transgender health care. It is essential to all of us that we receive health care. We are a proud and resilient community, and this is how you best serve us. Thank you.
That's it. That was amazing. I just want to say thank you for everyone who joined us on Zoom, who watched us on Facebook Live, and listened to these amazing and powerful trans voices. I need you all to hear us more often. For those of you who are going to watch tomorrow and for the next 20 years, this Facebook Live video that's recorded, I want you to know that your voice is important. Trans and non-binary people exist. We've always existed, and we're absolutely fabulous. We've got a couple more minutes. Puya, do you want to say goodbye or say anything? And then Liz.
Well, first of all, I wanted to make sure to ask a link to this video so I can put it permanently on my website and on my page. And to the people out there, I always give a message of hope, especially in darkest times, because older members of the community, they know how bad things have been, and We are being presented more than we have ever been before, in better ways than we ever have been before, but that doesn't mean that it's enough. It's not the end of a fight by any means. We wake up every day to fight for a better world tomorrow for ourselves and for younger members. And just know that you are not alone, that there are tens of thousands, if not millions of people within the community who have your back, and allies who also have your back, and all of us together will fight for a better and brighter tomorrow. So much gratitude for all of this. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Liz, and thank you to all the viewers.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody who is watching and will watch. And thank you to Heritage of Pride and New York City Pride for helping make this event possible. Thanks.
Thanks all.